Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We are on Love 99.5 FM affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on Kaleo FM in Nakachi, Gangai FM in Jirapa, Sky FM in Sunyani, Radio Max in Takrade, and Jubilee Radio in Keta. We are live on Twitter Spaces. We are on Facebook and myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. Also brought to you by Petrol Sol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrol Sol, always a delightful experience. This afternoon, lawyers representing Sarah J., the lactating mother in the Cecilia Dapa stolen $1 million case, is this afternoon in a desperate search for guarantors to meet bail bond set by the court.
They said the money involved is huge, so that is what is at least making us difficult to get somebody.
Also, 14 years after he led the development of a code of conduct for public officers, the Speaker of Parliament explains why the document has yet to see implementation.
When they go through it, the code is creating an environment different from the environment we are operating from. They see that if they follow what we put in the code, their constituents will chase them out of the constituency because it talks about doing what is right, what is just, what is moral.
Also coming up, a vehicle belonging to the Fisheries Commission reportedly snatched at gunpoint in Tamale, the second in the last 2 years as the Savannah Regional Security Council launches investigations.
I have invited him to my office tomorrow so that we can also set up our parallel investigation committee to look into the matter.
But residents are raising questions as to why only government vehicles belonging to the region are target of robberies.
By coincidence, that it has to be official vehicles of the Savannah region that they will have to take.
We need to do thorough investigation to know where the perpetrators are so that we arrest them. I think that would be the best thing.
Onion traders losing over 200 million cedis as supply trucks get locked up at Burkina Faso and Benin borders following Niger's coup, raising concerns about shortage and price hikes.
We have over 75 cars standing on the border.
By the time they will reach here, we won't get any one of the owners.
So our life is miserable. All our monies, if you come to the market, their life a graveyard.
Also, the Ghana military may not stage a coup, but should we be more afraid of civil revolution? Speaker of Parliament, as he claims mistrust in the democratic process is giving rise to agitations.
What we should be afraid of is civil disobedience and civil revolution, as happened in Egypt. That we should be afraid of.
Danny, what's in sports?
Manchester United and West Ham United agree a £30 million fee for the transfer of defender Harry Maguire.
And much later, economists tears into NDC's demand that Bank of Ghana governor and his deputies must resign, arguing the call is unjustified.
I personally don't think that this merits, the resignation of the governor and the deputies.
We'll get to hear from the Deputy Trade and Industry Minister saying that the NDC and its parliamentarians are playing politics, a situation he describes as unfortunate.
Others are doing politics with it. Others are raising issues that they are not doing any politics with it. But of course, maybe they have not directly engaged Bank of Ghana.
Meanwhile, inflation back on the rise as July inflation rises marginally to 43.1% from the 42.5% recorded in June. That and more in this afternoon's package of the Midday News. I am Emefa. Apawu, please do stay on for details. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Many thanks for your company. We dig in now and start off from the court. And lawyer representing the lactating mother, Sarah J., in the Cecilia Dapa stolen $1 million case is in a desperate search for guarantors to meet bail bond set by the court. Augustine Jamefi tells Joy News his aim is to secure Sarah's release and facilitate her reunion with a 6-month-old infant. For days, they have struggled to meet the conditions. He described the bail conditions as stringent, but he affirmed their dedication to meeting them within the specified time frame.
The relatives are making preparation to get somebody who qualifies to sign the bill. They said the money involved is huge, so that is what is at least making us difficult to get somebody. But we're hoping by the close of the day, you'll get someone relative who will be able to bring any landed, whether it's a landed property or whether it's a movable property worth of 1 million to be able to sign for her.
What are the chances of being able to get this by close of day?
My brother, it's difficult, but we will make effort. It's very difficult, but we will make effort.
Well, so that's Augustine James there speaking to my colleague James Aveji earlier. He spoke last night also mentioning about how tough and stringent the conditions of the bill bond were. My colleague Kweku Asante has been monitoring this, whether we've been able to secure the bill bond amongst others. But Kweku, what are we learning?
So the 1 million cedis bill with 3 sureties to be justified. This is what the lawyers are struggling to get. And in fact, we understand that the processes are in such a way that the lawyers believe that if they are unable to meet it before the weekend, they will go to a higher court to seek its review because they believe that it is so stringent that this person may not be able to meet the conditions. The lawyer we know yesterday speaking to you insisting that his client is completely not guilty of the claims that have been made against her, and she's hopeful that they will be able to get this out of the way so that the mother will be able to reunite with a 6-month-old infant. Thank you very much, Kweku Asante. We're still working the lines. Once we get to Augustine James, we will find out if indeed he's been able to secure the bill bond for Sarah Ejay. Now, meanwhile, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, says the high level of integrity and honesty expected of public office holders contained in the yet-to-be-implemented Code of Conduct is the reason there is no political will to pass the document. The need for such a law to regulate the conduct of public office holders has received public support following the alleged money stolen in the home of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abnadapa. The Speaker, Alban Bagbin, who chaired the committee that developed the manual, says those for whom the document will regulate are not willing to pass it.
As a member of parliament then, to initiate action, I was then the majority leader in 2009, to insist that Ghana's parliament should follow the good example of Great Britain by coming out with a code of conduct for members and staff of parliament. A committee was established, chaired by my good self. We produced a code of conduct, and this was approved and adopted by the House. A second committee was set out to flesh out the details of the code into a manual together with the rules of ethics. Nothing came out of that committee. The code remains a paper tiger in Parliament as at today. The orientation, we always draw the attention of members to that code. But when they go through it, the code is creating an environment different from the environment we are operating from. They see that if they follow what we put in the code, their constituents will chase them out of the constituency because it talks about doing what is right, what is just, what is moral. That is what it talks about. But that is not what the society is looking for. I hope not, and that will change.
Speaker Alban Bagbin will stay a bit longer on the conduct of public officials because anti-corruption campaigner Vitus Azim has described the Attorney General's advice on the Cecilia Dapa case as a failed attempt by the AG to do damage control on the matter.
The Attorney General is attempting some damage control. The Attorney General doesn't investigate. The police investigate on behalf of the Attorney General. And so I don't see why the Attorney General should come up much later after the police have done their investigation and file a case, come out with a different story altogether. Is the Attorney General saying that what the former minister told the police was inaccurate and that he knows more than the owner of the money? I don't think that there's any basis for what the Attorney General is saying. The information was gathered from the former minister, and the court documents show what was lost and who they belong to. So I think this is just a failed attempt at damage control and should not be treated with any seriousness.
Meanwhile, presidential aspirant of the New Patriotic Party, Kwabena J.A. says the resignation of Cecilia Abnadapa is not enough. He tells my colleague Evans Mensah he wants President Akufo-Addo to take a decisive step to sack other ministers, including the finance minister, to restore confidence in his government.
It's important that we realize that we cannot, as politicians, preach one thing and do another. So when you are encouraging everybody to be part of the formal economy, the least we can do as leaders is to lead by example. So I was disappointed that she will keep that amount of money in a household. I've known her, she's had a good record, okay, so it hurt me, But it is important that as political leaders, we should have the political will to do the right thing.
Has he been decisive in this matter?
He did not take action at the time, okay? So my views on that are clear. He is the president. The woman has done the honorable thing, resigned her position. If she hadn't resigned, maybe the president would have had to fire. And with other ministers, I thought he should have done that a long time ago.
Which ministers?
I told you about finance. And what was
should have fired the finance minister?
A long time ago. I made it clear.
Only him?
At the time, him.
Presidential aspirant Kwabena J. speaking to Evans Mensah on PM Express. The full interview is available on all our social media platforms, also on myjoyonline.com. Now let's head to the Savannah region, where the Security Council there is set to launch investigations into a reported case of a government car belonging to the Fisheries Commission that has been snatched by armed gunmen in Tamale. The latest case is said to have happened at the residence of the Savannah Regional Fisheries Director in Tamale, bringing to the number 2 of official government vehicles reportedly stolen in the region since it was created. Savannah Regional Minister Said Muhazu Jibril said although the case has been reported to the police, they will constitute a committee to look into the matter.
I also got the information only yesterday through the social media and also through my regional coordinating director that the regional fisheries officer who was not readily available for the regional coordinating council meeting. Well, the issue is that his pickup has been snatched in Tamale by armed robbers at gunpoint. So I asked him to place a call to him to see how far he's gone with it. And I'm reliably informed that the matter has been reported to the regional police headquarters in Tamale, where the vehicle was snatched. And so they are investigating. However, I have invited him to my office tomorrow so that we can also set up our parallel investigation committee to look into the matter. It cannot always be the Savannah region, the newly created region, and 2 brand new pickups, Toyota Hilux pickups, have all been snatched at gunpoint. That is a mystery because we don't know what is really happening. And so I will charge the police, the regional police command in Tamale, to thoroughly investigate. You know, the first one that was stolen, the case is in court and we are waiting for we are unable to retrieve it. We don't even know where it is as we speak. But the matter is in court and then we are trying hard to make sure that we'll come to the finality of the case.
That's a Savannah Regional Minister, Said Muhazu Jibril. Our correspondent, Isaac Nonya, is on standby. Well, he will join us much later. But there's been some reaction from residents on this particular matter. This is the second government vehicle that has been reportedly snatched since the region was created.
Is by coincidence that it has to be official vehicles of the Savannah region that they will have to take. Is it that the thieves think that we are new, because it's a new region, we don't qualify to have these vehicles? Or is it that, we don't handle them very well? We are so enthusiastic about the fact that we have had vehicles and we leave them loose to be taken away.
Yes, at the funeral house, most people were saying that, is it that most of the workers too are also coming from the region there, Tamale? So the leaders, the bosses, most of them are coming from that place. And so that could also cause the problem because always they are there. There's a linkage between the theft that is going on and all those things.
That is serious. And I think his personal security should be first thing that we should be thinking about. And I think if it's at gunpoint, he should give it out. But we need to do thorough investigation to know where the perpetrators are so that we arrest them. I think that would be the best thing.
Well, some residents in Savannah region. Let me take you now to Kumasi, where commercial tricycle riders have poured onto the streets. They've blocked the Apawu High Street in protest against KMA's restrictions. Well, some commercial tricycle riders, what we call the Pragya, have blocked the Apawu High Street and they've been raising concerns. Motorists and commuters have been left stranded in traffic as leaders in Zango communities attempt to restore order. The riders have been facing off with the KMA since the decongestion exercise in the central business district of the city kicked in last week. Nanaya Ojima has been monitoring the Pragya riders' unrest and joins us with updates. Well, Nanaya, what's the situation in these areas the tricycles operate, you'd say?
So for hours, these people blocked parts of the Apawu High Street to prevent vehicles, that's the commercial vehicles and other private vehicles, from using that route. It took hours of persuasion from the leadership of the Zongo community for these people to vacate the route for normal traffic flow. Unfortunately, the MP for the area, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, was around the area. He went through these streets and immediately the youth saw his presence there. They all followed him to his office where he had invited leadership of the leader of the Pragya Riders Association for a meeting. Presently, we are the premises of Honorable Muntaka's office, and the road now is very clear after the Muntaka's presence. So the routes are now clear. Normal traffic flow it's ongoing there within the Apawu and its surrounding communities. Honorable Muntaka presently is addressing some of the people who were part of the protest.
That's my colleague Nanayao Jima there, bringing us up to speed on the situation with the Pragia riders and that unrest earlier in Kumasi. Now, let's talk about this particular situation, the Niger coup, and the impact it's having. And we're told that over 200 million cedis worth of onions are stuck at Burkina and Benin due to the closure of their land borders following that Niger coup. The delay of the supply trucks, numbering over 70, has many onion importers worried. Well, these vendors who rely on the trade say they may not recoup what they invested in buying the produce. The once bustling Ajin Kutuku onion market is now left with empty barns. Some of the traders spoke to my colleague Jackie and Sumayeboa.
Bought onions and we've loaded. We have over 75 cars standing on the border, and it has affected our business. Since you can see the market, it is empty, simply because of the coup.
Almost 1 week now. So, I mean, all the owners are perished on the car. By the time they will reach here, we won't get any one of the owners.
Benin border, last 2 days, they opened it small and the onions come and they have locked it again. So our life is miserable. All our monies, if you come to the market, their life a graveyard.
Well, some onion traders there, speaking to my colleague Jackie and Smayabwa. Well, the Peasant Farmers Association is calling on government to take advantage of the situation to show up local production of onions to avert such crisis in future. President Charles Nyaba spoke on desk on Joy News Channel on TV.
So far, data from IFU suggests that our total onions production in Ghana is about 8,200 acres. And with this one, we are doing only about 144,000. When countries like Niger is doing closer to 2 million, Nigeria is doing closer to 2 million, Egypt, which is the leading producer of onions, is doing about 3.3 million. We are doing 144 million. Meanwhile, all these countries, it's not the case that they have more potential for onions production than we do. So I think for we the farmers, we think this is a golden opportunity. My only appeal to Ministry of Food and Agri is that they should try to support us with the seed, with the water supply system, and with the knowledge. Once we do that, we'll be able to increase our current yields of between 10 metric tons to 35 metric tons that Nigerians have been, because our lands are more fertile than those lands.
Now, the Africa arm of the International Trade Union Confederation, ITUC, believes the move by ECOWAS is ill-conceived and wants it to reverse course and tactically embrace diplomatic and political dialogue to resolve the impasse. Kwesi Eduamankwai, Secretary General of ITUC Africa.
ECOWAS has to do what it takes to engage more. One, in the different countries, I think that we need to be talking more about this issue and the dangers it poses. And then ECOWAS must reach out to the country itself, the leaders of the country, and if possible, try to reach different segments of the population, find out how to get out of this impasse. But certainly we believe that the military option is an extremely dangerous one for the entire continent.
Kwesi Eduamankwai, Secretary General of ITUC Africa. In a related development, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin says mistrust in the democratic process has given rise to tension and civil disobedience in the Ghanaian society. The upsurge of insurgency activities around the country's borders has put Ghana's intelligence agencies on high alert following military takeovers in Mali, Burkina Faso and now Niger. Addressing a public forum on 30 years of parliamentary democracy, the Speaker said the military may not intervene, but there's a potential danger of civil unrest if steps are not taken to address the root causes of the agitations.
It's as a result of this that the trust and confidence that voters had in democracy have been trumped. And that is why some of the earlier speakers said some people are preferring military rule to the democracy we are practicing. But even the military men, they themselves don't want to intervene because the cost to the military is immeasurable. They kill each other more than they kill the civilians because of the distrust, the injection of disunity among the personnel of the security agency. So even after they return to constitutional rule, they keep on killing each other. It takes time to settle down. So they know the cost now. They are not interested. What we should be afraid of is civil disobedience and civil revolution, as happened in Egypt. That we should be afraid of, and we should all guard against.
Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbing taking us on a quick break here on the Midday News live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, we're on Love 99.5 FM. We're on Twitter Spaces. We're on Facebook, myjoyonline.com, and a number of affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. The Midday News is proudly sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. Also brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. We return from the break with sports, and economists tears into NDC's demand that the Bank of Ghana governor and his deputies must resign, arguing the call is unjustified.
I personally don't think that this merits, the resignation of the governor and the deputies.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn, bath, chop. Where it vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You not get one drop safe inside your tank.
Hey.
Haja, our life was in dangerous. Only our neighbor get water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank get meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selenium. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! As my boss, Mr. Poncho, go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
When budgets are tight and money difficult to come by, you want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a Petrosol station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
Thanks for choosing us. It's the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. Danny Cranting has sports.
Hi, Emefa. The Ghana Football Association have announced the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina will host the friendly between Ghana and Mexico on October 14. Both Ghana and Mexico will use the match to prepare for the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, which begin in November this year. The Black Stars will take on the United States of America 3 days later in Nashville on October 17. Moving on, West Ham United have agreed a deal in principle with Manchester United to sign defender Harry Maguire in a deal worth around £30 million. Personal terms are not expected to be a problem, but there is some work to do on the details of his exit from Manchester United. West Ham, though, are said to be cautiously optimistic about completing the signing, having had a £20 million bid for the England international rejected last month. Maguire struggled for first-team opportunities at Old Trafford last season and has been stripped of his captaincy this season. Maguire joined Manchester United in August 2019 for a world record £80 million fee for a defender. That's all for sport. Back to you, Emefa.
Maguire. Now, an economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Patrick Assuming, has torn into the NDC and its MPs for demanding the resignation of Bank of Ghana Governor Ernest Addison. According to Dr. Assuming, the calls are not justified and not anchored on any sound legal or financial basis. The NDC and its minority caucus at a news conference Tuesday demanded the resignation of the central bank governor and issued a 21-day ultimatum to Dr. Ernest Addison and his two deputies for superintending over the unprecedented 60.8 billion cedi loss last year. Listen to Minority Leader Dr. Atoforsen.
We in the NDC call for the resignation, immediate resignation of the governor of the central bank and his deputies within 21 days. We are resolved to embark on popular action to occupy the central bank and drive out the team of inept, callous, and criminally minded mismanagers of our finances to save the Bank of Ghana. If the governor fails to, you join us to march to occupy the Bank of Ghana in 21 days' time to force him out.
Well, the Minority Chief Whip also took aim at the central bank for the construction of a new head office amidst the current crisis.
Which of you will believe that a Bank of Ghana in this level of crisis, self-inflicted, will be building a $250 million new headquarters? As if something is wrong with the old headquarters. You are broke, you have actually collapsed the economy. The next thing you do is to award a $250 million project. And guess what? That project is one of the fastest going projects in this country. A speed of light. They shouldn't try us. We have options. Like we always say, our options are in our head.
But Speaker, speaking to Joy News, economist Dr. Patrick Esuming described these demands by the minority as unfounded.
That place, there's a legitimate reason, there's a legitimate case to criticize their performance. You cannot be printing money for the government to spend and turn around to raise the policy rate to try and mop up the excess liquidity. I think that side is problematic. That particular course of action was problematic, and on that score, you can legitimately criticize the central bank. The problem is that there's been so much problem with the fiscal side, and the governor and his deputies, in their view, found it necessary to absorb some of the problems coming from the fiscal side. So for me, we should trace the root of all of this to why the government, the fiscal side, the finance ministry couldn't manage our debt to the extent that, we needed to do this domestic debt exchange, and to the extent that the Bank of Ghana felt it necessary. Well, I think they should accept the criticism on the face, but whether it means that, we should be calling for their resignation, I don't know. I worry that, this has become very politicized. I think that's where my concern. I personally don't think that this merits, the resignation of the governor and the deputies.
Well, Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Dr. Stephen Amwa, believes the NDC and its caucus in Parliament are only playing politics.
Our brothers and sisters who mean well for this country to ask for Bank of Ghana in terms of all the spending items or parameters from 20 years up to now and do trend analysis and ask for explanations. Whether they have been spending more, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but don't let us make it as if it is just now. And Bank of Ghana is, moving away from their actual or core mandate and their conventional practices. That is where I have the problem with that. Okay. And for me, my brothers NDC, what the NPP would have done,
That's the Deputy Trades Minister, Stephen Amwa. Still on matters of the economy, the inflation rate for the month of July has risen marginally to 43.1% from the 42.5% recorded in June. We can hear from government statistician Professor Samuel Kobneni.
For July 2023, year-on-year inflation stood at 43.1% relative to 42.5% that was recorded for the month of June 2023. The fourth time in a row we see year-on-year inflation inching up from April 2023 to July 2023. Disaggregating this from a food and perspective, that is year-on-year inflation, we did find a 21.2 percentage point difference between food and non-food inflation, with food inflation 55.0% relative to 33.8%.
Now it's time to put the focus on climate, and an inspirational Ghanaian has developed a beautiful natural homestead where he keeps animals for business and conserves the environment by converting degraded land into forest. After sun winning leading to a degraded land 24 years ago, the enclave at Domiabra near Ejiso in the Ashanti region is now a one-of-a-kind farm surrounded by forest. Mohammed Mahmoud Nuruddin visited the homestead for Climate Focus.
So when I came, I found out that some of the parts, the land is being used as a sign winning area, and for that you cannot plant anything.
This place is a little heaven because from the Bible we all understand that Adam and Eve started from a garden, and the garden comprises so many trees and different types.
In fact, when you come here, you would see a lot of trees, you will see different kinds of animals, and you would be amazed on how this particular land was converted into a useful one.
Excessive sun winning rendered the land degraded. Nana Hasia sought assistance from the fishery department to convert a portion of the land into fish ponds. He now has 4 departments on the farm.
That is the livestock, the aquaculture, mangoes, and that is the tree, and then the poultry, then small game.
Nana Shia's efforts have earned him recognition as a farmer and friend of the environment.
2002, I won the National Best Aquaculture, and in 2004, I won the second National Best Farmer, and a lot of awards that I've received, like the Menchia Excellence Business Award.
His 31-year-old second daughter, Teresa Ohenewa Kuma, has joined him to further turn the area into a wonderful part of nature.
The air here is very clean. It's not saturated. Yeah, since we have different types of plants around, each and every plant has its own medicinal purposes. So as we inhale it, you're not just inhaling only the air, but you're also inhaling some medicines in it.
Nana Sia and his daughter's greatest goal is that people recognize the value of soil and land. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Climate focus. And just before we go, the Volta Regional Coordinating Council has for the third consecutive time been adjudged the best region in the performance contract assessment by the local government service. The Volta region led the pack, followed by the Greater Accra region, with the Ashanti region placed in 7th and the Western North region placed in 16th. Another reason to visit Volta and experience Ghana. That's how we end today's edition of the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil is up next. Have a good afternoon.